Guys, let's talk about the Austin 2025 Contenders capsule. This capsule is the biggest that Valve has released for tournament stickers. The reason it's the biggest is because Valve has increased the team limit for this capsule from 8 to 16. So at every rarity, including the Blast TV Major Tournament sticker, there are 17 individual stickers per each sticker rarity. So that makes the chance to get any individual sticker 1 in 17. So these stickers are interesting because of that. Supplies are effectively halved because of the innate rarity due to the stickers in this capsule. So I say this one for last because I think that there are some interesting opportunities to be made for investments in this video. First off, guys, I wanted to really thank you guys for all the continued support you've been supplying these videos. I also want to shout out Croza on YouTube. He has been making wonderful, wonderful content with some pretty unique ideas surrounding CS2 investing, and he has some profits to back it up too. He shouted me out in one of his most recent videos, so I wanted to really appreciate him for that. And just if any of you guys hadn't heard of him, I'm going to link his channel in the bio as well, so you guys go check him out. He's a great small channel. So yeah, thank you guys for the continued support. I'll probably be doing a character craft sticker pack look over, and then I'll take your recommendations from there. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cover what's going on in this video for any newcomers. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at each of the Austin 2025 Contenders stickers. I collected this data from CS Float database, just looking at all the individual applied stickers. So I was able to calculate the total applications. A couple other unique stats that I have are the average sticker per weapon. That is kind of just an indicator for how many stickers people are applying per weapon. So the bigger the number, the better. Another aspect that I look at is the Steam price and looking at the relative price rank amongst its stickers compared to its application rate. So if something is very highly applied and very cheap, that's a good indicator. That's what this difference is. The bigger this difference number is, the better. And then over here I have this magic ratio. It's kind of just a indicator for, I like to call it bang for your buck. It basically is the Steam price divided by the total applications. So the more applied something is, or the cheaper something is, the better this magic ratio approves it. So it does favor very cheap items, but sometimes we can see some differences and some nuances between very applied items that might be more expensive, but are technically a better deal than some less expensive stickers that aren't applied as much. Alright, so enough yapping, we're going to go ahead and start looking at the blues. So I'm going to keep this section a little bit shorter than normal because after looking at investing into these stickers myself, I realized how futile it is to try and buy a bunch of papers. There's just so many of them. The price is so low, it's going to take a long time. So I would say, you know, if you buy 1,000 of these, it's only 30 bucks, right? So on Steam. So, and that's your entire inventory for 8 days until you get another storage container. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. So I did notice a couple things while looking at this. The Fluxo paper is definitely the best one. That's just kind of easy to say. It's, you know, the floor price of mini stickers at 3 cents, but it is the most applied, and it is tied for the cheapest at 3 cents. So most applied, cheapest, and its average sticker per weapon is 1.9. Very, very high. Approaching 2 is like a really good indicator for innate demand. So a lot of people are probably adding these to skins just as, you know, kind of a cool black line design to throw onto their skins. Another one I wanted to bring up, and something that you'll see as a trend throughout this capsule, is the Chinggis Warriors. The Chinggis Warriors is when a 4 times looks like a, you know, pretty inflammatory symbol that has been used in history. So a lot of people are using that as kind of a funny craft. So you'll see that there is some innate demand for that as well. That's really all I'm going to say for the blues, guys. You can look at this data and see if anything makes sense to you, but honestly, I don't see much investment potential in the blues just because there's so many of them. They're so cheap. They're so hard to manage and sell. Like, they're not very liquid. So I'm going to just kind of move on. All right, but looking at the foils is a little bit of a different story. So right off the bat, we can see that a couple of our cheaper stickers are pretty high up on our magic ratio tier list, but there is some reasoning for that too, right? So these are tied for the cheapest, but they're the 9th and 11th most applied. This one is tied for the 12th cheapest and is the 4th most applied. That's the NRG foil. So the NRG, Fluxo, and OG foils all have a pretty good indicator, but I want to point your attention towards like their average sticker per weapon. Only the Fluxo foil is over a 1.5, which I consider 1.5 to be a good threshold to kind of suss out whether something is good or not. Continuing on, something that I wanted to point out and something that I think is a very good indicator. The Chinggis Warriors foil is the most applied, has over 2 applications per weapon. So people are using that for that funny craft. And it's the most applied, 4th most expensive. So we have a good difference indicator there. It's kind of at a good price range of 26 cents on Steam. I believe I collected all this on October 30th, so some of this price data might be a little inaccurate. Some things might have shifted a couple cents, especially as people are kind of coming up from the great market crash of the retake update. So people are reinvesting, and Austin is certainly not something that people are looking at, but we like to invest in things when people aren't looking at them, right guys? And these stickers are discontinued. They have some good fundamentals about them, and their supply seems to be relatively low. So yeah, 26 cents for the Chinggis Warriors. I like it. A couple other ones I want to point out. The Fly Quest has a very good application rate per weapon at 1.73. It is also the 3rd most supplied. It's at 24 cents. I think with all these guys, like, you can't really go too wrong. These are very, very cheap. They might go cheaper, but honestly, if you look at some of these and you see the fundamentals, you see that they have a good sticker per weapon application. You see that they have a good just raw application, and that their price is kind of mismatched from their applications. I think that most of these are safe bets. I do want to point out that Tyloo is terrible. I would not invest in Tyloo at all. Pretty much in every category. I'm actually certain in every category it's the most expensive and bottoming out at the least applied. Obviously that's because it's propped up by investor demand. It is twice as expensive as the 2nd most expensive sticker, the Lin Vision foil. But guys, I just don't get it. I don't see it. I mean, it's the least applied. It's the most expensive. When something has demand and has application demand, it's okay for it to be the most expensive if it's not the least applied, right? I believe we looked at the Team Liquid foil, or sorry, the Team Liquid Holo from here. I'll just bring it back up. Yeah, so this is from my last video. This is the Legends collection, or sorry, the Legends capsule. The Team Liquid Holo is by far the most expensive holo at 20 bucks at the time I collected all this data, but it has that 1.92 average sticker per weapon applications, showing that there is demand. It's also the 2nd most applied, so even though it's the most expensive, it is the 2nd most applied, so that's a case where there is demand. Moving back to our Tyloo, I just don't see it. It's the most expensive, least applied. That's my argument for against investing in the most expensive sticker. Just because it's the most expensive doesn't mean that it is going to be the most expensive going forward or going to be the best investment over time. You might get better return on investment on some of these better, sneakier deals that are at lower entry prices. Alright, so that's kind of covering the purples. Alright, time to talk about the holos. So something that's interesting about the holos, and it applies to all the sticker rarities too, but you know, because there are 17 individual stickers in this capsule for every rarity, each of these holos has a pretty low supply. So I think that, you know, over time, if anyone wants to manipulate these, or if someone wants to craft 4 of these, or, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to get your hands on these as they get consumed over time, because their applications are actually increasing even though they are discontinued, which I'll show in a second. Regardless, I wanted to point out some interesting discrepancies here. The Energy Holo is the most applied and the 2nd cheapest, 3rd cheapest. Even though our magic ratio says that these are all kind of overvalued or propped up by investor demand, it's just because there aren't that many applications and because they are so expensive. So our Fluxo and Energy Holos have very good fundamentals, right? Our Fluxo is the leader in all of our 5 times, 4 times, and 3 times applications, and our Energy is the most in our 2 times and our 1 times applications. The Fluxo Holo is at a staggering 1.91 average sticker per weapon, and our Energy is at a solid 1.63. And their prices are just very attractive. They're very low. We're hovering around, you know, $6.50. So guys, I think that this is a buying signal for some of these holos. I think it's, you know, gonna be hard to get your hands on these, but you know, if you throw up a buy order on your favorite site, or you just pick some up and hold onto them, I think these will do well over time. There's a big gap between our 2nd and our 3rd most magic ratioed sticker. The Heroic Holo is simply just the cheapest. It's the least applied, and that's why it has good fundamentals. Surprisingly though, guys, I did want to talk about, if you look at the holos, there's only 1 sticker that has less than a 1.5 average sticker per weapon. So these are getting applied at pretty decent numbers per weapon. Our Bait Holo, you know, it's got that black kind of oil spill holo effect, looks nice. Our Fly Quest Holo is applied pretty highly as well. But you know, it's just these prices are very steep, and you know, they are susceptible to go higher. You know, investor demand can do a lot of crazy things in our CS2 market. So just, you know, tread with caution, guys. Will these crash? Will these go up? Who can say? But some fundamentals can be seen on some of our cheaper stickers, which I'll recommend. All right, moving on to the golds. Obviously, guys, if you're investing in tournament golds, you understand that, you know, every souvenir is going to have one of these stickers on them. So the applications on these just aren't there. Our most applied is only 125, right? Which is our OG gold. These prices are very low though, and if you consider the rarity of each individual of these stickers, it's kind of insane how cheap these are, but this does show that just because something is rare does not mean it is valuable, right? These do have decent ratios compared with the Holos, and that's just because they have such a cheap entry price for how rare they are. The one that I do want to point out is Chinggis Warriors at a 1.85 times average sticker per weapon. That's pretty good for something that has so few applications, right? Otherwise, our Fluxo Gold, our Energy Gold, our OG Gold, they all just kind of have decent fundamentals at being the most applied, you know, being podium finishers for most applied, while also being podium finishers for cheapest, right? So some good fundamentals there. One to point out that the Tyloo Gold has our just a terrible magic ratio indicator. It's the most expensive at almost $40, and it, of course, is the least applied with only 26 applications, guys. It has 3x, and the rest are 1x's. That's crazy. Alright guys, so that was looking at all the application data. I was actually gathering this information, I gathered this information on the 21st of October and the 29th of October, so I was actually able to see some application rate differences. We can see that over this 8-day period for the blues, I only got the blues and the purples, sorry. Our biggest, most applied was the Fluxo with 2700 raw increase, so that's a lot more than anything else, 600 more. And our Heroic had the biggest increase in percentage change. Our biggest losers were the Lin Vision, which only had a 23% increase, and our Imperial Esports paper only had 1400 applied. So go ahead and take a look at this data, see, you know, whatever. These are papers, who cares? But looking at foils, we can get a little bit, you know, better of an indicator. Our Chinggis foil over 8 days was applied 915 times. So this is our most applied sticker, and it is continuing to be our most applied sticker, so that's a good indicator. And then our Namika foil actually had the second most applications over this period of time with a 40% increase. That's odd. So maybe look at the Namika foil and see if that's something is there. Our biggest losers on application percent change was Complexity foil. I think the Complexity foil is propped up by a little bit of, you know, that old Cat of 14 hype around it, so I don't think it's a great investment just on fundamentals. It's kind of propped up by that, and when that goes away, I mean, we can see that the demand here isn't crazy. Only a 19% increase over 8 days. And then our bait foil, surprisingly, I like the bait foil sticker. Only increased by 276 over an 8-day period, so kind of crazy. Alright guys, looking at some metadata, I went ahead and added up all of our applications. And we can see that our blues had 146,000, our purple had 39,000, our pinks had 7,000, our reds had 1,200, for a total application of 194,463. That's very low compared to some of our other capsules, but you'll see as I, in a second, talk about my projected bottom line. That's actually okay for the Contenders capsule. But interestingly enough, I wanted to point out that our purple has a very high ratio compared to our blue applications. So I definitely believe that the blues have less demand than normal, or the purples have more demand than normal. So, you know, the purples have a good ratio, pink has good ratio, and even the red has a decent ratio compared to our blues. So the blues aren't just really getting applied that much. Alright guys, now we're looking at our actual versus our bottom line estimates. What I do to collect my bottom line estimates is take a look at the most applied and most listed sticker. So for our Contenders capsule, our best estimator was actually the baked paper with its applications of 7,500 and its steam quantity of 44,000. We were able to get 52,000. And what I do then is that 52,000, I times it by 17 for each of the individual stickers, because if it's provable that one sticker has a supply, it's reasonable to say that the rest of the stickers have that supply over a big enough sample size, which we have. So I times that 52,000 by 17 to get our 891,000 bottom line for blues, and then just following the division of, you know, 5 times rarer, we can work our way back and see that our projected bottom line is 180,000 purples, 35,000 pinks, and 7,100 reds, for a bottom line estimate total of 1.112 million stickers. Bottom line, absolute provable by math. I do want to point out that I calculate the percent of actual applications to this bottom line estimate. And for the last video, the Legends capsule, these were hovering around 30%, so they're a lot less for this Austin Contenders capsule. That might be, there might be something fishy there, or there might just not be enough applications compared to previous capsules. But here's the data. I think it's pretty sound, so use it as you will. So with this projected bottom line total, we can go ahead and add the Austin Contenders to our leaderboard for stickers. And here's our new leaderboard based on provable bottom lines. These aren't super updated. I collect them at the time I make these videos, so we can see that our Contenders capsule fits in at second to last at 1.112 million, about 350,000 behind the Legends, but well above the Challengers capsule. So alright guys, so that was the Austin 2025 Contenders sticker capsule analysis. I really hope you enjoyed. I will make a short video in a few days, just kind of going over the stickers that I chose for my investments, just with some reasoning, logic behind it, backed up by this data. By no means do you guys need to follow my decisions. You can take a look at this data, you can take a look at a bunch of other people's inputs and make your decision from there. I just want my data that I'm using to be open to the public and usable by you guys. So I want to thank you guys for making it this far into the video. I also want to thank you guys, huge thank you for 500 subscribers. I can't believe that my subscriber count basically doubled in the last few weeks. So I really appreciate all the support, guys. It makes me want to continue to do this because it makes me happy to know that people are actually using this this data. Anyway, guys, you guys know what to do. You hit it with the YouTube combo, the YouTube viewer combo, that like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know if you guys think I need to make any improvements or any changes. And yeah, I will throw up some screenshots of the data as normal. And I hope you guys have a blessed week, and God bless y'all.
Thank you.